Hey everybody, it's Andy. It's Thursday. We're live and you're at my live office hour show, noon Eastern, 11 Central. This is my favorite part of the week where I get to help you build a career you love. And today I am full of energy because I didn't prepare anything for you. I came just to answer your questions, So today we're going to do a full hour on Q&A. Now, if you've never been to live office hours before, I hold these every Thursday at noon Eastern. It's my way of sharing with the community the expertise that I have as a career expert. Normally I teach for 20 minutes or so, and then I take questions for the rest of the hour. Today, for the first time in actually a couple of months, we're going to do an all-out Q&A. So get your questions in here. I love to know where you're from, what you do, what you need, and just put some question marks in front of the question, because I'm going to do about a minute or two of housekeeping here just to let you know about a few things, and then I'm diving right in. Now, I'm really pumped this week. I just rolled over another year on Monday, and I love birthdays. But yesterday, actually between, let's see, it's 11 Central Time now, between like 1:30 p.m. yesterday and today, and now, just a little while ago, not one of my job search boot campers, but 4 of them have emailed me that they all got job offers or accepted jobs. So I'm so thrilled. It totally pumps me. These 4, so congratulations. Here's to you, Jen, Mark, Stephanie, and Jeff. Cheers to you. I know we wrapped up the session August 2nd, so 28 days. You guys, I won't call you slackers. That's all hot, but pretty good. Congratulations to all of you. I love having you, and I will be calling you soon for your testimonials. And by the way, this episode brought to you by the Leadership Podcast and Polo Clothing, which you guys see that I frequently wear. All right, so I also want to let you know, I know you guys have heard me mention the Interview Intervention book, my first book. I give this away right now. We got a promotion that's been going on for a couple of months. You can get the ebook, the audiobook, and the hardcover mailed to you anywhere in the world for just $7, shipping and handling. So the book is free. The $29 book is free. The ebook and audiobook, which are $27, are free. Grab that. But one thing you might not know, I don't know if you guys know this, but this is my second book. It's a motivational and inspirational book called Out of Reach but In Sight: Using Goals to Achieve Your Impossible. And since I didn't prepare anything for you today, I thought it was only fair that I give you something. So if you are here meaning now here with me live, and you want this book, the ebook and the audiobook, that's me, who I recorded the audio, and I've got the ebook for you. Kara is going to put the link in the chat. Just go grab it. All you need to do is click the button and fill. If you're already a Mile Walk Academy member and you don't have Out of Reach but In Sight, just fill in your, just sign in and click say yes, I want it. And if you're new and you don't have a Mile Walk Academy account yet, it's free. Just sign in and put your name and email and click the button, and it's free. So I wanted to do that for you. I thought that was something fun. I always like to give things away on my birthday week. And one last housekeeping, and then I'll go right into questions. If you haven't stopped by my YouTube channel lately, I mean, I know that you are here with me now, but I'm always trying to make it easier for you to find the things that you enjoy more easily, and I want my YouTube channel to improve and look better and be easier for you to find stuff. So I started categorizing the different types of videos that I have, because I have weekly recorded videos. I also have the live show, which we do, which is recorded, and I leave the live stream up. I also cut out little vignettes, like the questions that you ask me each week, and I make little 2 to 3, 4-minute videos. It's the Q&A videos. And then I also have motivational and inspirational videos on trying to get the life you want. So what I did is we were rebranding. I'm in the process. I should be wrapped up within the next week. The recorded weekly career videos, the ones that are packaged that are, say, 7 to 20 minutes, those are yellow. The Q&A, the little vignettes out of these sessions are red. The live office hours are blue and the motivational stuff is orange. So you should be able to find it in the playlist. I hope you like that. The thumbnails look a little better than what I had, and so I'm always trying to improve that. So let's get into your questions. I'm really excited because now we're going to spend 55 minutes at least on your stuff here. So let's see who's here, and let's go to the phones. Sadistically Sharp he or she came right out of the gate with a question, so let's go right to it. So the question is, I interviewed with a company and got the job, but they are still waiting for openings to become available. Is it common for companies to begin the hiring process before actual positions open? So, Sadistically Sharp, and I wish I knew what your name is. While I would not use the word common, I would say that some companies do this very frequently, and I'll explain what types of companies those tend to be. And some companies, the really great companies, are constantly interviewing. So I'll genericize this. I'll put this into two different types of companies. Now, I wish I would have known, and maybe you can clarify for me while I'm still answering you. If you go to the bottom of the chat and let me know the type of company that you interviewed for, I could add even additional color to this answer, and then Kara will just send it to me privately here. But here's what happens often. Consulting companies, generally, that are, they use a practice, some of these, by the way, they use a practice called just-in-time hiring. So I can think of lots of organizations, consultancies that hire any type of consultant, business analysts, project managers, program managers, technologists, whatever it might be. A lot of times what they will do is they will interview people constantly, put out what they call conditional offers to these consultants, whatever they may be. And then what will happen is when that consulting firm actually makes a sale with one of its clients, a client company that is hiring its services, then what that consulting company has confidence that they can reach to the person who's accepted the offer already and can go and be deployed on this particular consulting assignment. That way you are a full-time employee of that consulting firm, but the consulting firm is not expending any cost on you until it knows that you would generate revenue. That's one type of model. I don't know if that's what you just went through. That is very common for consulting firms who hire in what we call this just-in-time hiring mode. Now, there are other organizations that are non-consulting companies that still do this, not as frequently, but what I would say is more common with non-consulting companies is that they're interviewing continually throughout the year, because they never know when it's kind of like, I always tell people, your dream job rarely comes along when you're desperately looking for it, unless you're incredibly patient. It's always better to have your eyes and ears open while you're currently happy and working, because it's a little bit easier to field the opportunities and you're not so rushed or desperate. It's the same kind of thing for companies, though. Your dream candidate doesn't always come along when you're looking for him or her, which means you need to be in a constant state of recruitment. That's why organizations that are very effective at hiring have internal recruiters that reach out to passive candidates, or they're continually contracting with third-party recruiters like my firm, MileWalk. But what a lot of those companies will do is they will continually interview, but often they don't extend the offer until they're ready to pull you into the company. So I'd be interested to know if that was a consulting firm or not. And it would have been nice to know that. And just, I guess, so I hope that helps you. And for everybody else, try to put in as much context as you can on your questions. Even if you need to use a couple in a row, I can usually find them as long as you have question marks in front of them. So I hope that helps a bit. I really would be interested to know, though, either way, what the company type was, because it always helps me coach you better. All right, Amar, how are you? Following me all the way from Saudi Arabia. I love it. By the way, folks, let me know where you live. I love I recently discovered over the summer that 38% of my community is international. We started to notice that because of the Interview Intervention book, this book giveaway, we're getting to see where we're shipping the books. And so every inhabited continent is represented. I love that. So let me know where you're from, and even if you're from down the block, which I know some of you are, I want to know that too. All right. Let's go. Mark Peckney, boot camper. Earlier in the year, he nailed it with a $44,000 pay increase. And Mark, I hope I didn't embarrass you there, but I'm really proud of you, and you should be proud of yourself. Great to have you. And Wendy D. Wendy D's a job search boot camper. Wendy, I want to thank you. Kara forwarded me that wonderful picture of you. Now I know who you are, and I'm so glad you are back at it again. And great to see you. Charles Dare, another boot camper, and a question. Okay, Charles, this is a great question. So Charles asks, how do you respond to a close-ended yes or no interview question? For example, do you have XYZ experience or skill, where any answer other than yes is viewed negatively, a knockout trap question? Charles, great question. All right, so a couple things. Let's cover both sides of the coin here. Let's start with yes, I have the experience. If you have the experience, that's much easier. Yes, I have it. I'd be happy to share a story with you that's relevant based on what you just asked. And what you would do in that case is before you tell your story, because you want to do a yes and then give them the story, I would choose a story that most closely aligns to the job description or what it is that they're looking for in the employee. So you want to make sure, because you might have multiple stories that you could articulate that represent you and how you have that experience, but I would pick the one that most closely aligns to the job description, because the most important element of you nailing the job interview is showing how your fit and value and skills maps to what it is that the employer needs at the moment. That's the first part. Second part is when you do not have the experience. Usually, I recommend a three-part answer. So, first thing you want to do, and by the way, and those of you that follow me, you know this, I always recommend honesty. So you never try to fudge it. But what I do want you to do is I want you to rip the Band-Aid off as quickly as you can. So say, in your response to articulating that you do not have the skill, I would rather you not say, I don't have the skill. I actually would prefer those words never come out of your mouth. I would rather you say, I have yet to have the opportunity to do that. Don't use negative words in this case. It sounds better. I know it's silly, but it's believe me, psychologically, it is better for you to tee up what you're about to say using that phrase. I've yet to have the opportunity to work on that. So that's your no part. Then what you do is you want to reach into your bag of stories where hopefully you have some experience you can draw from that's analogous to that particular skill, product, service, function, or whatever it is. I have yet to have the opportunity to work on that, but in my background, I've actually done this, which maps to that effectively because. That's one way if you have analogous experience. And then if you don't have analogous experience, then you have to go down one level and you have to identify the capabilities that you have that you can draw from that suit that skill well or that function well. So if you've never sold, if you're a salesperson, I know you're in data, but this is one that comes to mind quickly. If you're a salesperson and they say, have you ever sold this type of product before, and you haven't, instead of saying, no, I've yet to sell that type of product before, And if you have not sold products before, you could say, well, but I've developed the organizational skills, the follow-up skills, and the organizational skills, and the influential skills, and the leadership skills, and communication skills, and so forth. That would suit me well to be able to do that. That's what I mean by capabilities. So that's the second part of the answer. And the third part of the answer is you always want to make sure that you articulate for them how you educate yourself when you encounter a situation that you've never done before. So what you now say is, and anytime I'm faced with, as we all are faced with situations that we've never done before, whenever I'm faced with that situation, here's what I do to get up to speed. So first I do this, and then I do that, and then I do that, and then I do that. So it's a three-part answer when your answer is no. I've yet to have the opportunity, but I've done this, which is analogous because, and whenever I'm faced with a situation that I've not done before, here's how I get up to speed. Here's why this works. You spent 2 seconds telling them you didn't have it. And then you spent the rest of the time explaining to them why they don't need to worry that you don't have it. And you're giving them positive information. You're showing you got a great attitude, and you're showing them you have an approach to solving that when you've encountered something that you've never done before. They're thinking, well, I'm not going to worry about it. He can draw on his experience from that, and he'll get up to speed. By the way, one more book advertisement here. In Interview Intervention, there is my silver bullet interview chapter. In the chapter, it's the 6th chapter, there is the 14 most effective job interview questions that they can ask you. There's 43 variations, why the employer asks them, what the employer is looking for, and the very best responses. Charles, question number 10, how do you educate yourself, is the answer. It's the analogous answer whenever you encounter something that you have not done before. And for everybody else, grab the book. You get the book in a couple of weeks and you get the ebook right away. So if you don't have it, get it. And if you do have it, you can go there for more color on that. So I hope that helped. All right, love that question. Debbie Fraser, good to see you. Got your resume. I will be getting back to you next week on that. Great to have you in the boot camp. Danny, how are you? Steve Smith's got a question. Actually, Steve Smith's got 2 questions. 2 questions, if I may. You sure may. Was laid off of my dream job. In interview, will referring to that dream job be detrimental to a new job that is not a dream job? So I'm looking for your other question. Okay, let's take these one at a time. Okay, so Steve and anybody else, if you are laid off, it is okay to say, I enjoyed my job. I liked it there. It was unfortunate, and so you don't need to. I would not, necessarily refer to it as my dream job. I would say I loved what I did because. And here's what I liked about it. And it's good that you share that with your potential employer. And the most important thing about, literally, Steve, the most important thing about what you just asked there, and for everybody else, if you are laid off, and I understand that it stinks, and especially if you enjoyed your company and you did not want to leave, the one thing that you need to make sure that you do in situations where you are let go, hopefully you were let go as part of a reduction in force and were not the only one that was surgically let go. If you were let go as part of a reduction in force, what you want to make sure of is when they ask you, why are you looking for work, or why did you leave your last company, or what happened, or whatever, okay, anytime they ask you that, you want to make sure that you are positive about being let go. I'm not saying you need to be happy about it. I'm saying in an interview, you want to make sure that you convey that, hey, you know what? I loved my company and I loved my job. I was part of a reduction in force, which I understand was necessary for the company. It was not personal to me. It was business for them, and I appreciate that they did whatever they could. They gave us advance notice, they gave us some kind of severance, whatever it was, just be upbeat about it. that will score you points, in fact. So if you were surgically let go, that's a little bit more touchy, and I would try not to go into too much detail. I know they might try to push you a little bit, but if you were surgically let go, you want to make sure that you can do something along the same lines, where speak positively about it and recognize that, you know, what I did, I learned from it, I recognize the company's position, and so forth. So that's the first part to your question number one. Then your next question, so Steve's next question is, work-life balance is of great importance to him. How can I express that in an interview without sounding like someone not willing to put in the hours? And thank you for everything, and you're welcome. So here's my view on work-life balance. So I get that it should be important to everybody. And if you are interviewing with a good employer, they will recognize that as well. I would never, this is me, Andy LaCivita, interview guy, I would never use the words work-life balance ever in an interview. Never, ever, ever. Under any circumstance would I ever use that phrase, because that's code for, as Steve worries, I don't want to work too hard. I'm not saying it's not important, and I'm not saying you shouldn't care about it. You should. Don't use the words, people. Don't. Please, do not. Because most employers, that's what they'll hear. And for those of you that have seen my 3 keys to ace any job interview free webinar, or those of you that have read the book, the Interview Intervention book, or those of you that have taken the Interview Intervention course, or any of the stuff that I teach related to this, interviewing success is about communication, exchange, the actual exchange of sentiment, the accurate exchange. You run the risk of them misconstruing how you are, what you think, how you feel about this. I would rather, so okay, I'm not just going to leave you there. What I would rather you do is ask multi-questions to try to get at, is there a balance? And so, you know, you can dissect this differently without asking, you know, does the company have good work-life balance? Well, one person's good work-life balance isn't another person's good work-life balance. So, you know, how I would be looking for signs of how the company supports its employees and their outside life. And so I would try to get at, you know, what are the normal, you know, what's the normal work hours? What are the expectations? But I would be an investigator. I wouldn't ask about, you know, the work-life balance. I would try to determine that based on different questions that I would ask. So what's expected? You know, what are the deadlines like? What's the schedule like? What's the response times, you know, preferred, and those kind of things. But often, if an employer is effective at selling its company, it will articulate a lot of these things for you, and it will bring up the part about work-life balance and caring about employees. In most cases, in 80% of the cases, employers will bring it up. And when they bring it up, that's a much better situation for you to say, oh, that's great. I'd love to hear more about that. How does the company demonstrate its support for its employees and their outside family lives and all the other things that they want to do in their lives, and then get them talking. But I would never use the phrase work-life balance in an interview. I just wouldn't. It's just too easy for them to misconstrue what it is that you're looking for, or how it is that you are to work with. So I hope that helps. All right, wait, back up to, hey Jill. Jill's another boot camper. Hope you are doing well. All right, Debbie, after being out of the Debbie Frazier, after being out of the workforce for a lot of years, getting my degree last year in paralegal studies, I'm still having a hard time figuring out where Debbie, what happened there? Oh, where I'd like to work and really what I'd like to do, I'm stuck. Okay, so let me read that again, because this is a fantastic question, and Debbie, you're going to be happy with what I have to tell you. Okay, so Debbie's saying, after being out of the workforce for a lot of years, getting my degree last year in paralegal studies, I'm still having a hard time figuring out where I'd like to work or really what I'd like to do. I'm stuck. Help. Okay, great question. these are multiple issues that you have to overcome. And the first part is, if you've been out of the workforce, for any of you that were out of the workforce, maybe you're a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad, maybe you're taking care of a sick family member, maybe you had to take a part-time job doing something while you cared for your family, whatever it might be. Maybe you moved cities or states and you were the spouse of somebody who moved and you didn't have a job for a long time. Anything can happen. Whenever that's the case, I always recommend you kind of recalibrate yourself and your interests. You did a great thing by going back to school for something that you could accomplish in a reasonable amount of time. So you didn't have to take 4 years full-time to go and get a degree in something, but you took a multi-year program in paralegal studies. There are loads of paralegal opportunities if that's something you're interested in. What I would do, well, Debbie, you're in the boot camp. So session 1, the starting session of the boot camp, is the place that I would direct you to figuring out what it is that you want to do. For those of you who are not in the boot camp, I also have a free video series called The First 5 Steps to Career Success. Oh, I forgot to mention the video series. Those will be green thumbnails, but those are out there on my YouTube channel, and there's a playlist of them. You can also access that from the Mile Walk Academy, where it helps you surface the things that you are interested in and the things that are helpful for you to understand and investigate about potential employers, careers, opportunities, and so forth. So the first thing that I would do is I would go through those exercises. Then what I would do is, if you are having a difficult time figuring out where you want to work, you're going to need to target the types of companies that you think lend themselves well to what it is you want to do. If you want to continue down the paralegal route, then it's picking the types of law firms that you want to apply to and network into, and which is the way I would go about it. And I would look at, I don't know if you want smaller boutique firms, if you have a certain type of law that you want to focus on, family, copyright, whatever it might be. And then I would target those according for you to session 3 of the boot camp, which is the job searching tactics. And for those of you that are not in the boot camp, I would check out why your job search is taking so long. It was a live office hours that I did earlier in the year. I break down how I would target the organizations and how much time I would spend doing each of the different job search activities based on your demographic, your age, your income level, and those kind of things. So Debbie, that's what I would do. And one other thing, Debbie, that I don't know if you, hopefully you are going to attend. Next Wednesday is our monthly private coaching for people in the Mile Walk Academy membership for my monthly coaching. And we're going to be covering, one of the topics that we're covering is gaps in employment and how to address them. And so, so hopefully you'll be there next Wednesday for that. So I hope that helped. All right. Let's see. And let's see. Jill's got a question. Oh, I love this one, Jill. And here again, you're a boot camper and you get a year's worth of membership in the coaching. So hopefully I'll see you next Wednesday too. But Jill asks, I have been out of work for a year, left for personal reasons, and am now looking. How much should I reveal about my employment gap? Well, I'm assuming, Jill, the question is not, okay, I've been out a year. That's fine. You've been out a year, you've been out a year. I'm assuming your question is about what the personal reasons are and should you share the personal reasons. So I always tend to lean toward honesty. So I tend to lean toward honesty. What I would recommend, depending on what those reasons are, is I might share them if it's not something you feel comfortable divulging. I was taking care of a sick parent. Our house was damaged and I was repairing it. My child was sick. Whatever it might be. And usually, folks, I know it can be a touchy situation and you need to be careful about what you share about your personal life, but oftentimes when somebody is very clear and crisp about why they were out of work and it's a sensitive situation, usually the interviewer will immediately shut down and move on to the next thing. So if you said to me, and Jill, I don't know what your personal reasons were, but if you said to me, I was out because, you know, my wife was sick, my husband was sick, my, you know, parents were ill, I would stop. I would move on to the next thing, and I would just be done with it. So in many cases, usually when it's personal reasons, it's life that just happens, and people recognize that. So I hope that helps. And if it's more detailed than that, you can go into the Mile Walk Academy because you're a member, or you can shoot me a private email if you want to share that and you don't want anybody to see it. So I hope that helps, and hope to see you next Wednesday. Ramel, how are you? Rick Perlacki is back and a boot camper. How are you doing, buddy? Amar. All right, Amar's got a question. Okay, I love this one. How to answer the question, are you sure you can handle all these responsibilities? When I'm a fresh grad and don't have experience, I want to work as a site electrical engineer. Amar, a man after my own heart. I was an electrical engineering. I have a bachelor's of science in electrical engineering from Iowa State University, and I loved it and did nothing with it. I went into something completely different. But the question remains, are you sure you can handle all these responsibilities? The answer is yes. I'm sure you can. And then you just say yes, and I can handle them because. Then what I would do is think back to what I just mentioned to Charles about that part about identifying the capabilities that have readied you to handle those responsibilities. So capabilities, folks, here again, when we're talking about hard skills, being able to do that specific job function is a hard skill. It's a skill you walk into work on day one with that skill. I know how to develop in that software language. I know how to tinker with that semiconductor, whatever it is. That's a hard skill. The capabilities are the foundational abilities that make a good electrical engineer a good electrical engineer. So you probably have good analytical and mathematical skills. You probably understand electrical engineering concepts. You might have had a specialty in electrical engineering in frequencies or communication or whatever it might be. Whatever that it is that you've done from developing those foundational capabilities, I would the second part of my answer after yes, I'm sure I can, is I'm sure I'm ready because I've developed these foundational skills throughout my college years and my internships, perhaps you've had those, and so on. So that's what I would do. Yes, I can. Here's why, because I have these capabilities that I have developed through these activities and these experiences and these observations. That's what I would do. Anytime, any of you. So you don't have to be a fresh graduate to have that situation arise. But Amar, that's a great question. I hope that helped. Carolyn Williams, good morning to you. All right. Ooh. All right, let me see here. Where are we? My hand always slips. Oi. Sorry, folks. Hey, for the latecomers, while I get back to my spot. For the latecomers, Orange Book today. Get this. Hey, Kara, can you do me a favor? Because, I'm a mess in the chat there because I'm at the wrong spot. But Kara will drop this in again. If you joined us late, I am giving away, totally free, the ebook and audiobook to Out of Reach But In Sight Using Goals to Achieve Your Impossible. Trust me when I tell you, this is a fun book. It's an inspirational book. It's a speech I gave to 400 people, and it was just a ton of fun. So grab it. You get the ebook and the audiobook. And if you are loving what we're doing, folks, hit the thumbs up button, man. Share. We still got another half an hour of stuff. Let me see. Where am I? All right, here we go. I think I found my spot. Sunny day. How are you? Sunny day. All right. How do I explain in my cover letter why I'm applying for a lower level job than what I have in my experience? I'm interested in some non-management accountant positions. I think I just answered this question last week, but Sunny Day and anybody else, the general question is, how do I explain in my cover letter why I'm applying for a lower level job than what I have in my experience? Fact of the matter is, every time that any of you are applying for a position that's a lateral move or is what appears to be a step down in responsibilities, your primary focal point is, I want to join your company because your company is awesome, and I'm a big believer that I join a company, I don't join a job, and I want to join your company because, and then Sunny Day, you got to have a rationale for why you want to join that company, and as part of that, I am open to opportunities that you would find suitable for, that you think would be suitable for me, even if they appear to be a lower level than what I'm able to do. The most important thing for me is that I want to join your organization, so I am willing to be flexible. And you can articulate that in the cover letter. But that's the premise of the argument. And every single one of you, just that's it. That's the one to go with. You don't want to say things like, well, I'm really tired of all these heavy-duty responsibilities. Don't say that. Perhaps if you are, that's a bad one. Another one that might be okay is, I want to join your company and I'm open to it. And then what you also can do when you get the interview is, maybe you're traveling a lot, or maybe there's something about your job that doesn't suit your life or your lifestyle, or the fact that you have 8 kids at home and you're on the road and your husband can't manage them all by himself, and because you're traveling all the time, so you're willing to move over for a lateral position or what even appears to be a step down, and you still have great confidence, you want to join that company, and it also addresses that lifestyle issue. That's okay. But I would not get into a whole lot of reasons if you don't need to. And I definitely wouldn't say the thing about travel in the cover letter. I would just focus on, in the cover letter, I want to join your company because it's awesome, and here's why I know it's awesome. Based on my research, this is what I have discovered. And so, Sunny Day, what you could do if you're looking for a template is, I have a no job opening template, and it's my 7-sentence cover letter. It's my favorite cover letter. I know lots of people watch the 4-sentence cover letter video, which is awesome if you were doing just a change of companies, meaning I'm a salesperson in this company and I just want to be a salesperson in that company. The 4-sentence cover letter is great for that. Short, sweet, quality over quantity. But if you are dialing up something like this, or a situation where you're applying to a company that you don't know if it has an opening, the 7-sentence cover letter is the best one to use. And what I just articulated to you, Sonny, you can frame that inside the 7-sentence cover letter. The shell is in there for you, and the language is in there for you, and you could just plop in, kind of what I mentioned. All right, hope that helped. Kevin S., good to see you. Jill. Here we go. Is it okay to tell them that I am looking for? Okay, Jill's got a good one here. We get this one a lot. Is it okay to tell them that I am looking for something close to home? I don't mind coming in early or staying late, but with the Houston traffic, I can't stand to spend over an hour each way. I don't blame you. What I would say is, I would not necessarily mention that in anything, Jill. There's no need for you to mention that in an interview. You can select where you interview based on its location. You also could extend that range. So mileage-wise, you could expand it if the organization allows you to work from home a few days. Maybe 3 days a week at home, 2 days in the office might be manageable. So I don't think there's any reason that you need to mention it. It doesn't buy you anything. It doesn't help sell you. It's something that you can elicit that information without even having to mention that. Just the location. Then you just need to find out. You know where it is, and so you'll know if it's close to home. And then if it's a situation where it's maybe a little outside the boundary that you're comfortable with, then what I would do is just see if there's a work from home policy, and I would go about it that way. So I hope that helped. Hey, Mom, good to see you. Looking forward to seeing you and my brother on Saturday. Apparently, you guys are coming over, and I'm thrilled about that. Okay, Gabby Marbray. Hi, Andy. ATS has gotten me nowhere. I actually did some networking in person. Do you think that is appropriate to put a face and personality with the person on paper or stick with your cover letter? So, Gabby and everybody else, I love this question. And I love this question as much as I hate applicant tracking systems. They're the dumbest systems out there. And I've said this before. I'll say it again. Even when they're teed up correctly, they're still stubborn and they mess up a lot. And they don't always let the most qualified people through. So that aside, and by the way, I have videos galore on how to overcome the ATS trap. I have a video on 3 free tools for your resume to beat the applicant tracking system. I would highly recommend that. And the other thing is, for all of you, and I know you've heard me talk about demographics before. And Gabby, I don't know what your demographic is, but regardless of your demographic, everybody in their job search approach should have a huge and heavy dosage of networking. So I don't necessarily recommend walking in the door and putting your live face in front of somebody unannounced, but I would try to network my way into an interview using my network and my resume, cover letter, or whatever other assets or marketing collateral I needed to do that, LinkedIn profile, and so on. So to answer your question, number one, I'm not surprised you don't get anywhere with the ATS. You have about a 2 to 4% chance of getting through the ATS no matter who you are. And networking is a much better route to go for everyone. And the younger you are, the greater the likelihood that you are going to find your job by applying online, but you still have more than a 25%, actually 27% chance of getting a job through somebody you know. And the older you are, that number approaches 50. And if you are interested, I just happen to have this. I don't know if you guys saw this. I have a 3-part free video series called my Job Search Masterclass. It is my new little signature free giveaway. It's fantastic. It's got the 3 most important factors in finding your dream job quickly, and it has 3 videos. The lessons themselves are about 30 to 35 minutes each. You get this wonderful 11-page workbook, and the reason I mention it, Gabby and everybody else, is inside in the middle video. So there's 3 videos. The first one is about breaking down yourself and your self-awareness and your needs and all that good stuff. The middle video is about, once you know the right factors in finding the right job, how do you find it quickly? And part of finding it quickly is understanding, based on your demographic, what your probability and odds are of finding that job, and then aligning your job search activities based on those statistics. So if you're over 50, under 50, if you earn more than 100,000, or between 60 and 100,000, or less than 60, and so on, all the work plans are in the booklet and they're free. They're in the video. And then the third video, just to kind of cap it off here, is about, once you surface it, then how do you nail it in the interview? So it's a wonderful 3-part series. You knock down the whole thing in an hour and a half. You get the booklet as well. You can sign up for that. That link is in the description of this live stream. And Kara, perhaps maybe add it into the chat role. That's a beauty. And a lot of people go through that every day, and I get tons and tons of feedback on that. They love it. So it's effective. It's effective, and it's deep coaching. It is very, very prescriptive. I give you the material. There's no hidden cells here. I give it to you. Serve it right up. So it's really a wonderful thing. So I hope that helped. All right, Erica, great to see you. Rory, the zombie review is here. Good to see you, my friend. And Rory is a boot camper. Love that. Oh, love this. Alex, I'm going to, for a little commercial break here. Alex Freeman says, hi, everyone. My second time attending this. I listed or I listed, or maybe listened to the interview questions listed the interview questions Andrew recommended and got some really good use out of them in my interviews. Check them out if you haven't yet. So I highly recommend, grabbing the Interview Intervention book and, check out 3 Keys to Ace Any Job Interview. It's free. And I talk not only about how to tell your stories, and also about how to ask your questions, but there's also a nice little giveaway in there, and that will certainly help you with those interview questions. All right. Leah Kelly from Austin. Oh, goodness. Man, you guys are getting pummeled with that weather. Danny, great to see you again. Sue from Arizona is here. Chamian, great to see you. New Yorker. Jeff Skipper, another Austin, Texas. Hey, Pansy, how are you? Got your email? Thanks for that. Glad things are moving along. Radisa, you're welcome. Oh, here's a question. Folks, make sure, put the question marks in front of your question so I can see them. All right, Radisa asks, thanks for helping us. If a candidate is missing some skills from the job description, should one apply? Please advise how to decide whether to apply. Fantastic question. Should I apply for the job? All right, so Radisa and everybody else, here's some guidelines. And by the way, I'm going to give you general guidelines here because I don't know, every one of you is different. Every one of you has different levels of experience. But here's how I generally consider job descriptions. First thing, don't assume anything. That's number one. Number two, as you read it, the employer is likely listing everything that they want. That's their perfect dream candidate. That's not an assumption. That's pretty much a fact. So what employers generally do is they over require in a job description. Okay, it's a way to give you a guideline, but they also have the feeling incorrectly that by putting all these hard skills and soft skills and educational degrees and all the stuff that's required, that they're actually going to reduce the number of people who apply to get it down to a more manageable number of qualified candidates. Nothing could be further from the truth. That's an insider's view. So I want you to know that as you look at the job description, it's okay to apply if you don't meet all the credentials. Now, let's talk about reasonableness though. If they ask for, let's say, 10 years of experience, I don't know how experienced you are or what they're asking for, but if they asked for 10 years of work experience and you had 7 or 8, I would apply. If they ask for 5 years of experience using this particular software product or understanding this particular accounting procedure or whatever, cost-based accounting method or whatever it might be, and they asked for 5 years and you had 3, I'd apply. I would apply. But I would look at the requirements and I would try to determine whether, based on your experience and knowing what it is that you've done and where you've been successful, whether what they're asking for, the responsibilities relative to what they're requiring in experience, is truly necessary. So for somebody to do these 5 responsibilities, do they really need 7 years of experience or 5 or 10 or whatever it might be? They might not. So you've got to kind of look at the relationship between what's being asked for and what's being required. However, I would rather you err on the more aggressive side and put your resume in there. The first thing I would recommend is you always want to try to network your way in. But if you can't network your way in and you have to apply cold, meaning cold, we call it cold traffic, you don't know anybody, you just shot your resume in the applicant tracking system, I would try to make sure that you are mapping up the experience that you have inside your resume to match closely to what the job description is asking for so that the keywords line up. The tool I recommend is JobScan. We can put a link in the description if it's not already, or Kara maybe put the JobScan link in the chat. And what you can do is when you look at the job description, you can look at your resume, you can run both of those into JobScan, and JobScan will run some analytics for you and give you some suggestions to reformat your resume. It's not perfect, but it's a good tool to use as a guideline. It's not the be-all, end-all, but it's a very, very good program. And it's free for the first 30 days or something like that, so you can get a lot of mileage out of it. But I would apply if I was close. And then the other thing is, are the soft skills that they're asking for, or the capabilities, kind of some of those things that I was referring to earlier in the session, do you feel you have those? Good organizational skills, good leadership skills, good customer service skills, whatever the foundational abilities might be for everybody who does that role. And here's one other thing. And I know so many people disagree with me on this, but I have no idea. I have no idea why, because I see this every day of my life, and I've seen it for 15 years as a high velocity recruiter. Just because an employer puts educational degree, BS, BA, BBA, whatever, on the job description does not mean you cannot apply if you don't have it. If you are a recent college graduate and they are asking you to have your degree, you likely need one. If you've been working for 10 or 20 or 30 years and they want 10 years of work experience in this thing and that thing, and you have it, don't worry about the fact that you don't have your college degree. Most companies don't care, and statistically, if you don't believe me, we've recruited, Mile Walk, my firm, has recruited for over 200 companies in the last 15 years. One of those companies was a stickler about the educational degree. One out of 200 and some odd. I would take those odds all day long. So if you're somebody who doesn't have the degree, but you have the work experience, go in. Go in on your experience, believe me. And if you can network your way in, you really don't need to worry about the education. So I know I went on a little rant there, but that's how I feel about that. And so many of you, because you're good-natured humans, assume that you have to have all the requirements when you just don't. So I hope that helped. Yeah, I love that one. Okay, Champion's got a question. I have an informational interview scheduled with the VP of the company. What are must-ask questions? Okay, so everybody, let's get this straight. And Champion and everybody else, there is no such thing. Not to beat up on you, Champion. There's no such thing as an informational interview. None whatsoever. If you are talking to somebody who can give you a job or recommend that you get a job, it's an interview. Treat it that way. Okay? Be as prepared. So of all the things I've told you, and all the more than 100 videos on the YouTube channel and the blog and the 400 posts and all the stuff and the books and everything I've given you, do all that just like it was a regular old interview. Now, the must-ask questions are, I'm gonna tell you I'm gonna give you two things. Remember this little red guy that I just held up, the Job Search Masterclass? The first thing I want to tell all of you about asking your questions is every time you ask any question, the question is designed for you to find out two things. Is this a good company, and is this a good company for me? In order to do the latter, the second part, is it a good company for me, you have to recognize what it is that you need to be happy. The reason that masterclass is important is the first video in the masterclass teaches you how to come up with that information. The reason you need that information is because that's the starting point for the questions that you're going to ask the organizations. So whoever you're interviewing with, you need to ask them questions that are important for you to know. Yes, there are general questions that you want to ask all companies, like about their financial stability and their culture, and all. You want to ask all companies that. But there are certain questions that you need to know for yourself that I would consider all must-ask questions. But to cut to the long route to get to your answer about the must-ask questions, first thing is you need to do your homework about your needs. Then you need to spawn your questions in relation to your needs. But the other thing that you need to do is you also very quickly want to know and assess whether this is a good company for you to continue the process. So there are certain things that I would want to know from an informational perspective, but more importantly, there are some things that I would want to know so that I could better sell myself initially. And if you're meeting with the vice president of a company, he or she he or she likely can help set a good table for the subsequent interviews that you're going to need to go through. Meaning, I really liked Champion. This is really a good person. You know, they're close to what it is that we need. So I tend to like questions related to information that will allow me to sell myself. So things like, you know, if I was to, you know, based on what it is that what is it that you need? You know, what type of person would add the most value to what it is that would help your company move forward? What type of people are successful in your company? What are those characteristics? If you have an informational interview and it's for a particular role not just generally with the company, but it could be for a group, it could be just for the company, it could be for a particular role, I would try to get at what success looks like specifically, like what they need the person to do, and then I would spend some time articulating how I would make that happen. So one thing I will point you to for more information is I have a video, it's actually a pretty popular video, about my top 5 questions I would ask in a job interview. I give those to you and everybody else. Those are my 5 faves. I would go watch that video for more on that. But I want you to think in terms of what you need, then generate your questions, then look at good general questions to ask the company. By the way, in here as well are 39 great questions to ask the company. And when you take me up on this free book, ebook, and audiobook offer, you also get, at least at this moment, an ebook called How to Interview the Employer, 75 great questions to ask before you take any job. So I wrote that ebook after I wrote this book, so we were able to almost double the number of questions. It's really, really effective, and people love that ebook, and you will never run out of questions, ever, ever. So for $7, and that's a $27 ebook, but I throw it in there because I'm like promotion happy right now. So I hope that helps. Hey Larry, how are you? Emma, good to see you from the Netherlands. All right. Cecilia from London, great. Erica has a question. What should I do when I've outgrown my role? So that's a very broad question, and there are many factors, but let's just take what I'm assuming is the most common scenario here. For all of you that are, you know, you've been doing your role, you know it pretty well, right? You got it down, you're a little bored. It is incumbent upon you to seek out growth opportunities. None of you, and I don't ever want to hear this, but it is not your employer's job to make sure you grow. Yes, it's better to work for a company who's constantly challenging its folks and helping them grow. That's a great company. But it is your responsibility to make sure that you are growing. I know a lot of people, they call it the business of one and all that stuff, but you get the expression. You are your own company, and your growth is your responsibility. So what I would do is I would identify the areas that interest me inside and outside the company, and I would look for reference material, training material, everything that I could get my hands on growing that, and I would be proactive in going to my boss or the management team or whoever it is and letting them know that you would like to take on more responsibilities. Now, if you are in a role where you work from 8 to 5, and it requires you to be there 8 to 5, and you have to, you need those 8 hours or 9 hours to crank out what you need to crank out. And they say, well, we need you to keep doing what you're doing. Then what I would do is I would say, well, what can you pile on top of that? And I'll spend additional time of my own trying to come up to speed on these other things, because I'm looking for more challenge and growth opportunities. So I would just be very aggressive about it, and I would go and I would seek those opportunities, even if you have to spend some of your own time to develop those skills, because that kind of stuff is the kind of stuff that's going to help you grow through the ranks. It really is. But Erica, that's what I would do. I'd get in there and I would take responsibility for education, whether you're doing it through YouTube videos, books you're buying, training you're investing in for yourself, or training you can get your company to invest in, or additional opportunities that your company could give you even if you need to do them outside your regular day. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. Hope that helped. All right. Okay, this is a great one. Jill, I have 24 years of diversified professional experience and I'm losing out to people with 15 years of concentrated experience. How to address? So Jill, I'm assuming you mean you are losing out in the interviewing process because there's two problems. There's a resume problem I'm guessing this is not Jill's issue, but there could be a resume problem where you're not packaging the requisite experience. Maybe 15 years of your 24 years is concentrated in the area that the employer is looking for, but you might not be highlighting it. You can do things in your career profile and the career highlights that pull that stuff forward. That's one way, but I don't actually think that that's what you mean. I think you're missing out in the interviewing process, because I know you're getting a lot of interviews. So I don't think your resume is the issue. What I would do is I think I would focus on the one thing. Okay, so let me say it this way. People who transform this world, people who transform companies, people who lead cities, people who can move the needle forward, okay, are the ones who can get the other party or company or whoever to imagine a better future with them, okay? So, Jill, I know you follow a lot of my stuff, and for a lot of you, I always talk about the more you shift the interview into the future, their future, not your past, that is the person who will get the job. So what do I mean by this? Well, if Jill and anybody else, if you're in an interview and the employer is spending a lot of time asking you about how you did something, well, tell me about that project. Walk me through this. Walk me through your resume. What did you do in that situation? How did you handle it? All that stuff. That's all about your past. A lot of you call them, and it's very commonly called behavioral interviewing questions. If you are answering a lot of behavioral interviewing questions, oftentimes that means that the employer is not convinced that you will move the needle going forward because they're trying to understand your background and whether they think you have the experience, and they're in evaluation mode because you're constantly telling your story about your past. So they're evaluating your credentials. That's the past. The more you can shift the discussion into the future, then what you start to do is you move from their evaluation to their imagination. So if you can get them to imagine what it will be like for you to work there and how their lives will change, how their projects will change, and how their company will change, it's much easier for them to envision you as part of the team. They get more clarity on how you will perform certain functions and that you can actually do the job in their environment. And the more you can talk about their future and the more you can talk about how this will transform them, the better you will do in interviews. And I don't care how many years of experience those other people have, you'll win out. So think about this. If you are spending a lot of time answering questions about your past, the fix is, and this is really, really important, for those of you who are getting a lot of behavioral interviewing questions, the more time you spend in your past, the less good the interview is going. The more time you spend in the future, the better the interview is going. So if you're getting questions about your past, I want you to answer the question quickly, tell your story, as I advise you in the book and in all the other stuff I give you. Then what I would do is I would say, that's how I've handled it in my past. Do you have a scenario in your environment that's similar, and would you like to know how I would handle it? Or how I could handle that in your environment? Would you like me to discuss that with you? And you just shifted it into the future because now they're going to give you a scenario about what you'll really be doing there. And it's very important that you do that because, well, number one, you're taking control of the interview. Number two, you're moving it into the future. And there's not an interviewer out there who doesn't want to be guided and make sure they're getting the right information. So just because you've done this in your other environment does not necessarily mean in their mind that you can do it in their environment. It's silly, but interviewers are sloppy and they don't ask you questions about how you'd handle it in their environment as much as they should. Because if they asked you about their future, they would know that you had the experience to handle it by the way you walk them through exactly how you would do it in their environment. So you want to make sure, Jill, that you are continually moving the discussion into the future, their future, and what it would be like. And the best question for you to ask, the number one, and who was just asking me here about, Champion was just asking me about like a must-ask question. What I always advise you to do is, especially if you are interviewing for a specific job and you know it and there's a job description there, I would ask the employer, if I was to take this job, or whoever to take this job, 1 year from now, what would success look like specifically? That means, what would I have accomplished? What would have changed? What would have, we grown, reduced, whatever it might be, and get them to tell you specifically what success looks like 12 months from now. That immediately puts you in a position to walk them through how you would accomplish that. Oh, so you would want to implement this project this way in 12 months. Here's what I would do. I would do this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and now they're seeing you in the role. That is the most powerful interviewing technique. If I only had to give you one tip, that'd be the tip I'd give you, is make sure that you're not talking about your past, get it in the future, ask that question, and then talk. Because now you transform them. They can see it. They can feel a better future, and they know exactly what it would be like for you to work there and how you would approach it. That's how politicians win elections. That's how CEOs approach the market and the shareholders. That's how the best salespeople sell their products. That's why customers buy it. It's because they see their life better in the future. Right? I want you to take my boot camp because you're going to have a better job. It's all about what their future is going to look like. That, Jill, and everybody else, is what will win you the interview. Do not be afraid to take control of the interview. Believe me, most interviewers, they're bad at that. And that's okay. It's not a knock on them. They're trained to do something else. They get paid to do something else. So take control, talk about the future, and Jill, I would make sure that I was studying those job descriptions, and I would not just, here's a bonus tip here, I would not just study the job description. I would study the job description, the next role in that career development line. What would be the next role likely in the company? And I would make sure I was telling my stories like you were meeting that. So I hope that helps. Very, very important. Very important. Emma is in London going to Amsterdam. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Say hi to Cecilia while you're there. Okay, Jeff Skipper, job searcher, do you recommend paying for a professional resume? Jeff, if you are asking me if I recommend you hire a resume writer, the answer is a resounding no. It is, and no offense to all the resume writers out there, but I am telling you, the dissatisfaction rate of somebody who gets their resume professionally written by somebody else is like over 90% of the people are unhappy, survey says. Survey says. Why is that? I'll tell you why. Because nobody cares about your career more than you, and nobody, and I mean nobody, me included, is going to sit there on the phone with you or on a Zoom call or whatever for 15 minutes and ask you to give me whatever resume you have and to tell me about yourself and to take some notes and be able to craft a resume that's going to work. And you're going to go back, and then you're going to have to pay. You're going to pay for rush charges. You're going to pay for additional iterations and so on. What I do recommend, whether you want to do it with me or anybody else that offers this kind of program, is somebody should teach you how to write the resume. I have a great program, the Build Your Ultimate Professional Resume Workshop, and I also, it's part of the boot camp too, where I teach you exactly how to write your resume from, actually, you know what? Wait, let's back up. Let's back up. I got my workbooks here. I was looking at all these. Here, see this thing right here? It's a resume content builder. I give it to you free. This is what's in here. And I have a course for this, but let's talk about the free stuff. If you watch my free resume webinar called Three Secrets to Get Your Resume Noticed. I walk you through how somebody looks at your resume and what the content is that you need to have in there. Then what I do, this is free. This resume builder is a free gift. It's the content and the builder itself. So you get instructions here of how to build your resume. I tell you how to use the workbook. Then there's a template. All you got to do, Jeff, take this template. There it is, one page formatted, and I have it all shelled out for you. Then what I do is I go through every single section. Here's the career profile. Here's what the career profile does. Here are the topics that you should include in your career profile. Literally, the 6 things that you need to include in your career profile. Then I take you through the career highlights and so on and so forth. And if you are at a loss, for what to include or write about or recollect on your work history, there's an achievements journal in the back. There's 14 points through this thing that tell you the 14 pieces of information you should capture on every project that you've ever been on. And while I would love for you to use this on an ongoing basis while everything's fresh in your mind, it will help stimulate your ideas of the things to think about. Then what I would do is just watch the webinar, take the free booklet, and go to town. And then what I offer as a service, if you're in the job search bootcamp or if you're in my resume course, is then after you do all that, then you can send me your resume and I will edit it and I will use the track changes and all that good stuff. But before you even pay me to do that, why don't you go through that process and do it on your own, spend a couple of hours, and I promise you that you're going to come up with a better resume. And I know this sounds horrible, you have no idea how many resumes that I fix from people who've spent $400 to $800 on a resume writer, go through my program and have me fix it. So I really would recommend that you watch the free webinar, 3 Secrets to Get Your Resume Noticed, take the resume content builder and write your own. And then try it out and see if you're getting hits. I'm guessing you will. So that's my answer to hell no, I wouldn't pay a resume writer to go from scratch. All right, I hope that helps. Woo! Hey, it's 12:11. All right, how we doing here? All right, folks, get this free. Okay, get this free. It's just for you, for live people right now here with me. And get this. $7 shipping and handling. Get this, you get the ebook, the audiobook, and the hardbound. $7 anywhere in the world. London, Amsterdam, Perth, Australia, makes no difference. San Diego, wherever, Germany. I'm going to take a couple more questions. If you are loving this, give me the thumbs up. Remember, the YouTube channel now, it's got 5 different categories. Yellow's weekly recorded. Blue is live office hours. Red is the Q&As. Orange is the inspirational stuff, and green, I forgot green, is the video series. So when you start to look at them, they're almost, I'm about halfway through, but we're getting there. We're getting there. All right, let's see. Let me try to get another one in here. Kevin, you're welcome. Oh, we got somebody from Orlando. All right, Alex, thanks for the shout out. I want to get your question in before we wrap up. All right, Alex Freeman. I tend to apply with many recruiters, but have an extremely hard time getting any feedback or status updates from them. Most never respond. Any suggestions to get feedback? Alex, no. I have no suggestions to get feedback, and let me tell you why. If you are applying with many recruiters, my guess is you are applying to third-party recruiters. Third-party recruiters work on behalf of companies. They don't work on behalf of people, and they find people for jobs. They do not find jobs for people. Unless you are, by some miracle, an exact match for a search that the recruiters are working on, they are not going to call you back. It should not be irritating to you. It has nothing to do with you. They are focused on filling the needs of their clients based on what their clients needed. So we worked very hard on an HR search, on a sales search, on a project management search, on a whatever. So if I've got accountants and finance people calling me, I can't spend any time getting back to them because otherwise I can't get the people that I need for the clients that we represent. So I would not spend any time reaching out to third-party recruiters. Now, if you are applying to recruiters who are corporate recruiters, meaning they work at the organization that has the opening, then what I would say is I would highly recommend you go and you watch three secrets to get your resume noticed. Get the resume content builder, format it this way, and apply using those techniques. And I think you're going to have a lot better luck. And I know this stuff works. I've reviewed more than 500,000 resumes in my life. I've curated a great template. It is very ATS friendly. You can go through those processes and then run it through JobScan, run your resume through JobScan, match it up with the job description. Trust me when I tell you, you will substantially, exponentially increase your number of responses. But that's what I would do. That's what I would do. You don't need to be irritated or frustrated because recruiters aren't calling you back. It has nothing to do with you. Nothing whatsoever. Nothing. So I hope that helped. All right, let me see if I can get one more in here. Oh, wait, can I just say this? Jill, that's like awesome. I just want to remind you how awesome you and Kara are. Thank you, Jill. It's great having you as part of these programs, man. I love it. I love it. All right, Emma. Let's get Emma in here. Onboarding. I'm in a new job. Yes, she is in a new job because she's a Mile Walk Academy member where I work remotely. How can I adapt your first 90-day plans to this where I have no office? Okay, so Emma, you asked a question that nobody can see but you, meaning folks, I have a monthly coaching program, which is very modest. It's $19 a month, and every 4 weeks we meet. And the one we did in the beginning of August was one of the topics was my first 90 days. I went through 12 points of the things that you're supposed to do. So that's a little advertisement. And next week, we're going to be talking about career development, progressions, promotions, and how to be ready for your reviews so that you get promoted. And we're also going to be talking about gaps in employment and some other job search related stuff. But Emma, I'll tell you what, let's you and I get out of here and go over that because you're a paying student and this is something that that you have access to, and it's a little bit lengthier of a discussion, and I'm happy to help you in the academy on this stuff, and I can kind of draw the parallels of the 12 points and what I would do and how I would adapt that. But for everybody else's benefit, hey, Renaissance Man, oh my God, that's so good, Benny boy, I'm proud of you. Got a new job. He's also a boot camper. All moved to a new place for a new job. I used many of your tips in my first pre-job conversation with the new boss after the job offer. That's Renaissance Man. He's in the boot camp. I love it. Thanks, Sue, for the birthday wishes. Diana. Okay. How do I explain a year's gap in work? I am taking care of an elder. So as I was mentioning before, Diana, you just did. That's perfect. So whenever you have a gap like that for that reason, just say, I had to take a year off to take care of my dad, my mom, my aunt, whoever it might have been. It's totally okay. It's totally okay. Let me see if we can get one more in here. Bev Carter, how are you, boot camper? Sam, great to see you. Connie's here. How are you? Another boot camper. Pammy, great to have you. I love this. Okay, Pammy, this is a great question. Pammy says, hi, Andrew. I recently started watching your videos and found it very interesting. Do you think the tips you give are applicable for academia as well? So, there is absolutely no question, and I have tons of evidence of the fact. As a matter of fact, I have a one-on-one coaching service as well. One of the women who is in the one-on-one coaching service with me is a PhD, MD, and works for a university. And she's in an interviewing process with all these other universities. All of the same principles apply that I've taught. And so all the videos and all that great stuff about interviewing, job search tactics and all that great stuff, all of that applies. The one major exception to academia is most people in universities or in high schools or whatever it is, their resume needs to be more CV style than the professional resume template that I distribute or promote as part of my free videos and paid services. So, you know, you're going to have more about your research activities, your publications, your projects, and those kind of things. And as a matter of fact, Charlotte, the woman I was mentioning, who's in my one-on-one program, she has a 34-page resume. 34 pages. It's insane. It's insane. I mean, I couldn't stop laughing when we got together. And she's awesome. And I've also noticed for the educational institutions at the university level, the interview process that she goes through compared to what most professionals goes through is a bit different. The days they are longer. They're like multi-day sessions, and there are more people that they actually interview concurrently, and the process takes a bit longer. That's universities. High schools are a little different. Grade schools are a little different. Those tend to be very accelerated. My wife is a third grade teacher. When they interview teachers for their schools, they consolidate the days. And they usually have group interviews, and what they do is they actually have them come in all in one day, and then they try to make a decision very quickly. That's a little bit different because you're gonna be doing a lot of group interviews. Rarely are you meeting individually with people when you're in the lower grade educational institutions. So there are some changes, but the tactics and the techniques as far as the search, the interviewing, and the applications and all that stuff, totally the same. So I hope that helps. And with that, 80 minutes on, 81 minutes. Folks, I hope you love this. If you did, click the thumbs up, share it. I will be out next week, back the following week. So I want everybody in the U.S. to have a good Labor Day and everybody else to have a great weekend. And for those of you that are celebrating the holiday next Monday, have a great one. For those of you watching this on the recording, so long to you too. Hope everything's great. And then I will be back the following week with more live office hours right up until we run into the boot camp in October. So hope that helps. You know where to find me. Hope to see you around the blog. Hope to see you at the live show soon in a couple of weeks. Till then, everybody, have a great one.